Hi, my name is Erica. I can't wait to tell you about what I've been through recently. Oh, when I remember, my head is spinning. In short, guys, now I think every first person on Earth has their own crush, and I'm no exception. So, first I'll tell you about him, about our acquaintance, and about my secret investigation into him. And you will give me advice on how to proceed and what to do. I can't tell my friends. It's risky, but it's safe to share it with you, so I'm waiting for your advice in the comments. Like as a sign of support, and yes, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Anyway, like I said, my name is Erica. I'm in middle school. I'm 15 years old now. I have a family. My father, mother, and sister, she is already working. We have a big age difference, so we don't really communicate. We all live in the same house that we inherited from our grandparents many years ago. Actually, I was born in another city, but then we had to move here to Brooklyn because of my inheritance and my grandparents. This is a swanky city in New York, in case you didn't know. There are skyscrapers, life, traffic, and there is always somewhere to go. Well, that's not the point. In short, in such a crowd, in such a densely populated city, I found my crush. Wow, it was just perfect. How did this happen? It was like in a romantic movie. My friends and I went out on a sunny day in the summer and decided to go to the pool to cool off a little. At the entrance to the pool, I realized that I had lost my wallet with money, and I was terribly embarrassed, upset, and very sad. The girls tried to calm me down, but I was not sorry for the money. I was more sorry for the wallet itself, because my grandmother gave it to me a long time ago, when she was still alive. It was so beautiful, black with a real brilliant inside. I started crying, and a guy came up to me at the entrance. He was tall, slender, and good-looking, blonde, blue-eyed, with well-built abs and an insanely gorgeous voice. He immediately offered to help. I was embarrassed to agree, but I stared at him so intently that he took my silence for agreement. He politely paid for me and left. The girls and I were impressed when we went to the pool and stayed there all day. We didn't even really swim. We just watched him, my knight. It turned out that he works as a swimming instructor. As soon as he was free, he came up to me and asked where I might have dropped my expensive wallet. I said that it must have happened on the territory of the pool, since I recently pulled it out, but I don't know where I dropped it. He promised to find it and went off again. When he returned sometime later, he said that he knew who had taken it. He asked me not to worry and to trust him, and only asked me to be patient. Oh, I could have looked at his back and legs forever. He was so good looking. In the end, we went home in the evening. I hadn't told my parents anything yet, in the hope that I would still get back what I lost. So a couple of days passed, and it seems that my hope was fading more and more. After a couple of days, the holidays passed and we went to school. I even started to forget about my crush and loss a little bit, but when I left school on the first day after school, my girls froze. He was standing on the stairs. He was wearing a white t-shirt and blue jeans on a motorbike, holding a helmet in his hands and looking straight into my eyes. My heart began to beat, and I slowly approached him and caught the greedy eyes of envious girls from all over the school. It was my finest hour. I went up to him and said hello. I asked him how he knew where I went to school, and he immediately pulled out my wallet. "Oh no, you found it!" I shouted with happiness. "But how? Where?" He only briefly replied that it was not difficult, thanks to the surveillance cameras in their building. At that moment, I fell in love with him completely. Silently, without further ado, he won my heart with his act. I was just crazy about him. Then he offered me a ride home, and I agreed. He put his helmet on me, and we rode with the wind. It was amazing. We drove to my house. "Do you live here?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, and then suggested that he come in for some lemonade. He refused, but I insisted, because he gave me back my treasure, and he deserves to be thanked. He came in, and I introduced him to my sister, since she had the day off. She thanked him and offered to have lunch with us. I liked this idea so much that I tried to persuade him, and he agreed. By the way, I didn't say his name was Dave. The three of us sat down and had lunch, talked at the table, and I learned a lot about my sister. Yes, it's funny, but I really didn't know where she worked. It turned out that she was a marketer. Dave didn't really say anything about himself, which was just more proof that his silence only made him feel better. We ate and laughed. While he went to the bathroom, I briefly told my sister that I liked him. She just told me to take my time. Dave came out of the bathroom and I saw him off. I think it was the best day of my life. He said he would call me. I was waiting for his call. In the meantime, I took advantage of the fact that there were more and more rumors about him and me at school. I just smiled enigmatically and said nothing. Dave called me a couple of days later and offered to take a walk. He picked me up in the evening and we rode his bike again. We had a great walk in the park. He kept asking about me, about my family. It was nice that he was so interested in me. I talked so much that at the end of the evening, I realized that I was the only one who spoke, and he was silent most of the time. I got cold and he put his jacket on me. Then he walked me home and I decided to ask him about him. And he looked me in the eye for so long and kissed me. Wow, I almost lost my mind. I wanted to scream with happiness. After the kiss, he put on his helmet and drove away, and I stood and watched him go, remembering our kiss. It wasn't until I entered the room that I realized I was wearing his jacket. I took a couple of selfies and then decided to hang it on a chair. A stack of documents fell out of his pocket. I automatically began to read them. There was a passport, driving license, and some other notebook. I stared at his passport photo and took a picture of him. Then I took a notebook with some names written on it, and at the end, I found my own. I immediately thought that this must be a list of his swimming students, and he wrote me down because my wallet was lost, so as not to forget. Dave promised to call me again, but he didn't. So a few more days passed, and I began to miss him very much. His phone was disconnected, and I started to worry. My sister advised me to go to his house, visit him. Like, what if something happened to him? This excited me, and I went there that evening. The address I knew thanks to his passport. I found his house, and it turned out to be a small apartment, probably the size of my room. It wasn't a rich neighborhood, not even a ghetto, and I was surprised. I found Dave's apartment number and knocked. No one answered, so I knocked a few more times, and the door opened on its own. I walked in slowly and called for Dave, but no one answered. I didn't find anyone in the creepy, dirty apartment where there were cigarette butts, bottles, and a terrible smell everywhere. Only in the bedroom on the shelf, I saw a painfully familiar wallet. It was my wallet. I took out my own and compared it, and I realized that mine was a fake, and my real one was there because there was a name tag on it. Slowly, puzzles of events began to form in my mind, and I was getting a little freaked out. Suddenly, I heard a noise and hid under the bed. Dave came in. He was talking to someone on the phone and said that he lost the documents and the list of rich majors. Then he said my name and said that in my house, a lot of interesting things and crooked lies. This appalled me. I told you that the scene with the alleged loss of the wallet will work. It worked with all of them, he said and laughed. I was so angry. I immediately texted my sister to come and bring help. As I listened to his conversation, I realized that he was a professional thief. He takes advantage of his appearance and fools girls like me. I felt hurt and disgusted. Then I suddenly sneezed, and Dave looked under the bed. I yelled, called him a goat, and crawled out from under the bed. He tried to grab me and closed the door in my face. While he was chasing me, my sister ran into the apartment, followed by the police. That's how he was caught, and I was released. In short, on the one hand, I was so sorry. On the other, I was glad that I found out everything this way. Do you think I did everything right? And what would you do?